Welcome to Positivity with Poe. Hello, world, and welcome to Positivity with Poe. Hello, everyone. I am back again. This is episode 3, and we are back with another great person to interview, another great person to share their story. Today, we are making a plan with LaJonel Brown. But before I jump into that, I just wanted to give a special recap on episode 2, where I talk about killing the double consciousness, killing the double-mindedness. And what that really meant was, in order to make a plan to get on your journey, you really have to kill that part of you that says you can't do this because look at what you're doing right now. Then what you really have to do is put yourself in the shoes of, if I'm already here, how would I look? How would I live? You know, you have to think it in order to believe it. And then in order to believe it, you have to really act on it. You have to really make those necessary steps, So killing the double consciousness is killing that part of you that is telling you that even though you're not here yet, you're not worth it, you just won't get there, killing that doubt that's inside of you while you're in the transition into living a better life. We all know how hard that can be. We all know you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, but you're still in the tunnel. So you're just sitting there like, oh, well, I'm never gonna make it. But that's a lie, you know. Stop putting that notion of perfectionism on yourself and just be who you are and realize it is a journey. It is a way that we are getting there step by step and moment by moment through our experiences. So today we're picking it up. Like I said, we're making a plan with LaJonel Brown. Who is LaJonel Brown? Oh, honey, let me tell you, she's everything, my sugar biscuits. She's a writer, director, and producer. And we're going to have her on here today to talk about how she made her plan and how she made it to where she is. As I mentioned before, my sugar biscuits, it is a marathon. And what we're really trying to do now, what Miss Poe B is trying to teach you all, my sugar biscuits, is that, look, you have to stop and get out of this notion of it's not perfect, therefore I can't do it. And like I said before on my show and on my page, on my IG page, we really all do live in this world of rejecting. We're rejecting ourselves by believing that we're not where we should be, believing that, well, I need to do this better, but I'm not doing it better. Therefore, I'm not worth it, as I've said. We have to stop believing those lies. You are worth it even if you're not there yet, you know. You are worth it even if you don't see it yet in front of you. You have to believe it in your mind because, let's be honest here, that's the only way it's going to change. All right, guys. So I just wanted to share that message with you. Make sure you go and recap on that episode 2, Killing Double Consciousness. It's a deep topic. It's a lot of layers to it. I'm just recapping it for you. You better go watch it so you can learn. Ladies and gentlemen, when we get back, we're going to have LaJonel Brown and talk about making a plan with her. So stay right here. This is Wow Radio. Also, check out the site, wowuradio.net.
Moon Moon Media presents Lessons from My Exes, the podcast. And I'm your host, Tosh, Natasha, or Breezy. And every Wednesday, I'll be talking to you all about different topics on my mind. I'll also be inviting some friends of mine to come through and share some of their experiences that helped them along the way. I look forward to bringing this to you. Don't forget, every Wednesday on all digital streaming platforms and on Facebook and YouTube. Why you bringing up old hurts?
All right, world, and welcome back to Positivity with Poe. At this moment, everyone, put your virtual hands together for writer, producer, and director, LaJonel Brown. I know my producers are so sick of me with these hand claps. I know y'all are sick of me. Hello, LaJonel. Welcome. Yeah.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here, Miss Poe B.
Yes, it is such a pleasure. So, La, let's get right into it. Do you mind if I call you La, Miss
Of
LaJonel?
course.
Okay.
Call me La.
Okay, La. So yes, let's get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, in case you don't know, like I was telling La before we started, I'm going to shout out the fact that LaJonel gave me my name, okay? LaJonel's also my cousin, so she gave me the name Po B. If it wasn't for her, there would be no Miss Po B and Britt. We love you, Britt. Shout out to Brittany too. So just want to throw that out there. But La, let's get into it. I love your story. I love how you've grown. Let's start with what you just wrapped up on. Let's just start there, what you just finished on and what you were doing in that project.
Sure. So I just wrapped on a feature written and directed by the incomparable Charles Murray. And the role that I played on that feature, for those who don't know, features are also known as films. Not to, offend anyone or to understand or to assume that people know, when you're in a world and you use certain terminology, people are just like, what is that? And, yes, so films, also known as features. So I worked in the production office as an assistant production office coordinator. And to get into like what that entails is a whole thing, but we won't get into that. But
okay, because I was going to ask, I'm like, what is that like? I bet that's a busy day for sure.
Yeah. So essentially, the production office is an extension of the producers and what they do, and the producers are the hub of a project. Mm-hmm. They are the ones that literally bring everything together. They execute upon the creative idea to make it come to life. So that ranges from hiring the crew to creating a budget, how much money, getting the funds to fund a project is half the battle. And then managing those funds in the form of a budget, getting the people together on the team to help bring this to life, right? So the person who's going to be behind the camera, you have your lighting team, you have other producers, you have those who work in the production office. You have people who are actually on set, who are running around making sure that talent is taken care of and they need to be where they need to be. You have someone who is managing the script, right? You have the actual director. You have all of these moving parts that people don't even realize that come together to make what we see, on the television, on our laptops, on our phones, come to life. And so me working in the production office is just one role, right? One part of the very large puzzle to bring that to life. So so I recently wrapped literally like this time last week on a feature written and directed by Charles Murray. Very excited. There's a lot of heavy hitters in it. I'm not sure how much I can talk about it, but I'll just leave it at that. But I'm excited for people to see it. It's like a horror type film, but anyway, we'll get into it.
I mean, all of that is screaming executive producer to me. So can we just get a hand clap for that?
Like, crazy. I cannot. One day I will have that title, but not on this project. But yes, one day.
I mean, it's just that's what it's giving. Okay, I'm just speaking something into fruition. Okay, because you got to speak it to see it. Amen. Amen. But I mean, how did you get your start? Well, how did you get here? Okay, so let me just let the people know. La has went freelance on her work, on her project. So now she is working for herself. She's on real boss status, my sugar biscuits. So my thing is La, how did you get there? Like, please take us back before you even got to this point, like when the changes started, where you started and how you got here.
Sure. So it's interesting because, Portia, before we started the interview, we kind of touched on like where I got started, right? And so that's kind of not a hard question, but it didn't necessarily start, when I moved to LA, right? It really was, and this is what I want people to understand. Every part of your journey contributes to those milestone moments, right, along your journey. It's not just like the point where you think it got started. It really does begin, like it really does go back all the way to the beginning. Even if in that moment you don't realize, like, oh, it's not directly related to what I'm doing today. Mm-hmm. However, everything that I've learned up until this point, although it wasn't, and every experience wasn't directly related to film and television production, right? But each and every experience contributed to the physical, tangible skills that I have, the mental, right, and emotional resilience that you build up along the way, right? All of it's relevant. So, but specifically, I moved to LA 3 years ago, well, almost 4 years ago, 2018. Prior to that, though, I studied film at Temple University, TU. What's that?
Shout out your school girl. Yeah.
What's that? Temple made.
Yes.
We are literally everywhere.
Yeah.
But prior to that, like I had a passion to direct, right? So I grew up wanting to be a director. And that was sparked, you know, in the late 90s. I loved music video production. Yeah. I was obsessed with music videos. And back then, like music videos in the late 90s, early 2000s, they were like, it was a whole thing, right? For you to have a video out at that time. And, you know, there were very specific directors who dominated that, you know, the scene, and just, it was a whole production, right? And for me, it was like the emotions that it provoked. I loved all of that. So that's really what sparked, you know, my passion. And I was like a writer, you know, like I wrote little stories like as a kid. And so all of this kind of came together, like this little storm, right? Came together. And that's why I pursued filmmaking like in college. So for me, the goal was always to direct. And then of course, you know, life happens, right? So you graduate and you have to get an actual, what they call a real job. And so for me, you know, that the moment from when I graduated college to the point where I moved to LA, it was gaining, you know, skills, right? We're in the workforce, being down on myself about like not being where I wanted to be, seeing my peers, right? Who were, some of them had, you know, moved to LA, seeing not even just the move to LA, but just seeing my peers and other who were pursuing other industries excelling, and me feeling like, oh, like just feeling down on myself about not being at that point, right? Not having opportunities.
Yeah, let me ask, how old were you at that point in time? Because I think that's important to touch on too.
Sure. So I was 20, I graduated on time. So I was like 21, 22. Right? And so from there, and then remember, this was like in 08. So the recession happened. So like nobody was hiring anyone. So here were a lot of us in this boat with a shit ton of, you know, student loans, right? And no jobs. Nobody was hiring. So everyone, like we were just pretty much doing whatever we could to make things work, right? And to make sense of, especially if you were coming out with a film degree or communications degree, it was just different, right? Like you had to get very creative, no pun intended, and just figure shit out, right? So I still did my best to, you know, uphold different internships and, you know, but at the end of the day, the internships back then just didn't pay the bills, right? So it was like, okay, time to get a job, or, you know, at least to make that my full-time focus. So I was 21, 22 at that time, or in 08, and literally 10 years goes by, right? And I studied while I was at Temple, and I'm kind of, if I'm jumping around, just like stop me.
No, you're good.
I studied in LA for a summer semester through Temple's LA internship program, and that's really what sparked my desire to move to LA, right? So I already had the desire to create, to direct, to write, and then you pair that with the opportunities that I was presented with during that summer, you know, and learning and meeting people and understanding, just gaining a little bit more, like gaining a better understanding of what it takes to, you know, get to the point where I wanted to be, right? And so I was like, okay, LA is it. So boom, I get home, I graduate, and fast forward, 10 years passes by, right? So you're telling yourself, oh, you know, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. You know, you get kind of complacent, right? There's the fear that kicks in. And I took a trip to LA after my 30th birthday. And on my way home is when I decided to get serious about my career. And I was like, okay, literally on the plane, I decided I'm going to move to LA. Like on my way home from my little trip, I made the decision. And so this kind of goes into what you were saying about making a plan. And what's interesting is that you go through all these things, right? For me, it was like a level of confidence and feeling like I couldn't really do it, and just all of the things that go through your mind. And when you come up with the plan, I think some people have this idea that it has to be this like grandiose thing, right? For me, it was a simple decision. Like I just made a decision and I communicated that decision to people. Like I decided, okay, I'm going to move out of my house. Like at this point, I'm like an adult, right? So I've had my own house. I have a job. Like, so I'm making all of these decisions to move back home, right? To start saving money, I'm resigning from my full-time job, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to a place with no job, right? So I'm like looking for housing, but I gave myself that time. Like I literally gave myself a year to put the plan together. But it really was just that one decision, right? And it was very simple. Like, okay, we're just going to do it.
Yep.
Like the plan is sometimes just saying like, okay, I'm going to do it.
I'm just going to do it. That's it.
And that from there, the plan kind of comes into place, right? Obviously, you have to put the effort into it and there's the intention and all of that. But it's really pretty simple as far as just like, oh, I just have to do it. I'm just going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense?
Makes total sense. And I actually talk about that in my previous episodes already, where I'm like, you think what I've learned too, is that making a plan, you have to be flexible within your planning skills, within making that plan. So many different things happen. And as long as you have that say so of, well, this is what I am going to do, speak it for yourself, claim it for yourself. Yeah. And so that's why I think it's amazing. I love to hear your journey because it really does say, like you said, I just made one small change, right, believing in myself. And then everything else just came to follow.
Right. And I had the support from my family and friends, which makes a world of a difference. Mm-hmm. Right. You reach out to people. I had a lot of resources at my fingertips. So I was able to, secure housing. I got in touch with a staffing agency. I literally made the intention in my mind that when I got to LA, I wanted to help others produce their projects because I needed that experience. I didn't have that experience as far as producing like actual films and TV shows and digital pieces, right? I had dibbled and dabbled. Prior to that, I had, launched my podcast and a lot of my focus went into that. But in terms of like film and television, I really didn't give myself the opportunity to do that. So when I moved to LA, I made the intention to do that. And from there, I secured a spot as a producer on a digital web series called Out of Pocket. Shout out to Out of Pocket. And so I think all of that plays into like the intention, right? Like I literally had the mindset like, okay, we're going to do this. And it was literally an alignment. So everything just kind of like came together. I can't call it. I can't tell you what it was other than I just was aligned. Everything was aligned and everything from there came together. And that doesn't like speak to like challenges, right, that I went through. But in terms of like how, I secured a job at Viacom working on the production management team. I started working on the web series. From that, you start to meet people. And I started to then produce other things after that, right? And you're learning all the while the technical skills. You're learning how to maneuver this new world, right? Mm-hmm. And it just kind of all came together. I can't tell you what it is other than I was just aligned. And just I made that intention. Not to say that it's going to come together, right? Because manifestation is interesting too, because you manifest, it doesn't mean it's going to come together. So what you were saying as far as being flexible, right? I'm still having to be all of those things. Yeah. In addition to me being, intentional about that. But it just all came together. I can't call it other than that.
No, and that's incredible. I mean, that's a part of what makes things come together is that flexibility and saying, okay, well, I'm going to go here and I'm not going to just be so rigid in how I get there.
Right.
Exactly. It is a marathon. So real quick, before we go into commercial, what would you say to your younger self? Like, what would you say to your 23-year-old self today at your age now? And you're not old. I'm just saying.
Right.
You're older.
Right. I would say that, okay, what would I say? What would I tell my younger self? I would tell my younger self to give yourself grace. And also acknowledge that everything that you need in order to do, you have.
Mm, Pew! I love it. I love it. Yeah.
That's my younger.
That's deep. I mean, class for that. Like, come on. You gotta give yourself a round of applause for that. Okay, like that is great. I love to hear stuff like that. And don't worry, we're going to get all your information when we sign off. I think that is a beautiful journey. I think that what you're doing now is great. Do you have anything up and coming yet that you want to touch on or that you can touch on?
Sure. So I am preparing to direct my first short film. So I've produced several short films, but I am now going to do the same for myself. So I'm excited about that. And I'm also in the process of relaunching my podcast, Unfinished Business. I'm bringing that back. So I'm excited about that. And, we'll see what else, whatever will come, once you start doing things, it's interesting how opportunities will meet you where you are. So yes. I'm looking forward to what, opportunities will come when I get up and running with those things.
Very true. And in case you guys don't know, I was the audio engineer for Unfinished Business. So I did her intro song, BW, okay?
And did.
Yes, and I'm excited to see, Unfinished Business come back out. It is such a good podcast, and it is very hard to share the mic with so many different personalities. And the way you guys do it, it is truly my sugar biscuits. You definitely want to check out Unfinished Business. It is on SoundCloud. Where else are you on with Unfinished Business? Are you on Spotify and stuff?
Yes, we're on Apple Podcasts, Google Play. We are not on Spotify yet. I just remember when I launched Unfinished Business, that wasn't a thing. We launched very early on, before podcasts blew up.
Mm-hmm.
SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Google Play. We're working on getting on other platforms so that everyone can listen from anywhere.
Perfect. All right, guys. Miss LaJonel Brown, thank you so much. It's a pleasure talking to you. My sugar biscuits, when we get back, we are going into Poe News. So stay right here on Positivity with Poe.
Mental Salvation Radio is a platform where we tap into the entrepreneurial spirit of the Black woman, and that segment is called Salvation Sundays. Tune in every Sunday, live on Instagram at 11 a.m. You don't want to miss it.
All right, world, welcome back to Positivity with Poe. And now it's time for what? Poe News. Never get tired of doing that. My sugar biscuits, you're going to have to get used to me, okay? So this week in Poe News, I want to shout out the entrepreneur, Paige Burno, also a middle school classmate. So amazing to see you doing your thing, girl. It is her 1 year in business sale, everything 50% off with the D Burno collection eyewear. Make sure you get your frames, okay, baby? Make sure you look popping, get your hater blockers, get these haters out the way. Okay. And definitely check her out at dburnocollection.com. That's dburnocollection.com. And she's also on IG at d.burnocollection. Please go make sure to check her out and celebrate her business. Okay. Next up, we're going to switch over to The Overthinker. Also, shout out to The Overthinker. She's amazing. I'm definitely going to have her on the show. The Overthinker, when you're watching this, trust me, I'm going to book you. We're going to get you on. She's a great advocate for mental health and how to stop overthinking and just sharing her journey. She also, though, sells clothes, artwork, and just other things for lifestyle and looking good, smelling good, all that great stuff. Make sure you check her out at theoverthinker.com. That's THEE overthinker.com, and follow her on IG at the THEE Overthinker LLC. Okay, you heard that? LLC. Okay, my baby, you better write that down. We doing big things out here. Okay. And last but not least, on Poe News, we have the master class presented by Master Shar, nail technician. I also have to get you on the show. Shar, you are doing it. I'm super excited to see your journey. She does the most amazing nail work I have ever seen. And you want to talk about making a plan. My sugar biscuits. She has gone ham on making a plan. And she's like a real master tech, like nail tech. Like, I'm not making this up. Definitely want to check her out, but just wanted to shout out her master class. It's a 2-day class and lunch is included. You can't go wrong with that. And certification. Let's say it together now. Certification is given upon your 2-day completion of this class. Did I mention lunch was served? Because that's what got me. Okay. But make sure you guys check her out too. Follow her on IG. She is at Master Char, CHAR_. Visit her page if you are interested in that. And definitely, for all my nail techs out there who want to learn the business, go through her. Check out her page. She's really official. I love that. I love her for that. Shout out to her. That is your Poe News for this week, guys. When we get back, we're going to sign off with Miss LaJonel Brown and who we'll have next week. Stay tuned right here on Wow You Radio.
Indie for your mind, indie for your spirit. It's Wild Radio, so you know you're gonna hear it. Whether you like to spit it or you just wanna feel it. Forever indie, baby, and you know we got the spirit. Indie for your mind, indie for your spirit. Indie for your mind, indie for your spirit. Indie for your mind, indie for your spirit. Indie media for the indie spirit on Wild Radio.
What's up, world? We're back with Positivity with Poe. We're about to sign this thing off, but hold on, y'all. Y'all know I love that song, Indie for Your Mind, Indie for Your Spirit. Like, I was at the commercial break, I was jamming. I was like, yes. So shout out to the producers for that song. Can I get a hand clap? Yes, thank you, La. So, Ms. LaJonel Brown, please let the world know, how can they reach you, get in contact with you, and check out more about you and what you do?
Yes, so you can find me on my website, lajonelbrown.com. You can also find me on Instagram at Laughs and Adlibs. I'm also on Twitter at I_heartla. I don't really use Twitter often, but that's where you can find me. Mainly Instagram and my website. And yeah, so I'm excited to connect with you guys. I'm excited to put more of myself out there. And, to see how all of this will, manifest itself. So thank you, Portia, for having me.
Of course, my beautiful cousin. I'm so proud of you. I love your story. I want your story to be everywhere as much as possible, because it really does talk about making a plan and how to be flexible, how to love your life and to enjoy the journey, and how it all it comes together, and actually, before you go, in the first season of Positivity with Poe, when I was just doing this on Instagram, I talked about when it's meant for you, it comes to you. You can't even explain it. So you just pretty much proved, listen, my sugar biscuits, I'm not making this stuff up. We have living proof that when it's for you, it comes to you. All you got to do is decide. And God is like, okay. Look, God wakes up all the angels. He be like, oh, she ready. Go. Yeah, come on. That's done. So
exactly. And real quick, Portia, it's interesting that you mentioned that about being ready, right? You may not know that you're ready, but how everything comes together, the universe will show you, right? It'll let you know. So just make that decision. Just do it.
Yep. All right, La. Thank you so much again, everybody. LaJonel Brown. Make sure you check her out, lajonelbrown.com. All right. Thank you, girl. And you be safe. Yep. All right. So next week's episode, we actually have our male series, Making a Plan with actor Eternal Ruffin. I'm super excited about that. So make sure you guys check us out again next Tuesday, 8:30 p.m. with Eternal Ruffin. My sugar biscuits. This is Miss Poe B. You're on Wow You Radio. Make sure you visit wowyouradio.net. And guess what? Get the indie for your mind, indie for your spirit. Hey. All right, world. See you next Tuesday, 8:30 p.m. Bye, my sugar biscuits.
Wow Radio, keeping a firm grip on the community. We handle today's issues for tomorrow's successes. Wow Radio.
I was deep into the